When President Trump was mysteriously rushed to Walter Reed Military Hospital on Saturday afternoon, Louisiana was voting for their next governor. Donald Trump went to Louisiana 3 times in the last month to campaign for the Republican candidate for governor. And in his final argument to Louisiana voters, Donald Trump was reduced to begging.
In Kentucky, we elected everybody. And the headlines the next day, Trump took a loss. I lift him up a lot. So Trump took a loss, so you got to give me a big win, please, okay? Okay?
Louisiana did not give him a big win when the votes were counted on Saturday night. Louisiana voted to re-elect their Democratic governor, John Bel Edwards. We had no idea Saturday night whether Donald Trump even knew this, whether he knew he suffered another election defeat in another governor's election in another otherwise Republican state. And we had no idea whether he knew it the next day, because Donald Trump has been seen by no one since he was taken to the hospital for a few hours on Saturday. The White House press secretary, who has never held a White House press briefing and has been caught not telling the truth about many things, says the president is just fine. And today, although the president remained invisible, he did make a proof-of-life phone call to Louisiana Governor John Bel Edwards and uncharacteristically offered his congratulations to the latest Democrat to run against Trumpism and win. Joining our discussion now is Jim Messina, CEO of the Messina Group. He was the deputy chief of staff for President Obama from 2009 to 2011 and campaign manager for President Obama's reelection campaign in 2012. Jim, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Really eager since Saturday night to get your read of what happened in Louisiana for Donald Trump on Saturday.
Well, a couple of really interesting things. First of all, Democratic turnout was through the roof. In New Orleans, up 29% over the primary. And second, in the 2 congressional districts that Donald Trump visited, the Democrats actually did better from the primary to the general. Governor Edwards did better in those 2 places that Donald Trump visited, meaning a couple things, Lawrence. 1, Donald Trump continues to drive Democratic turnout. 2, he probably did help his candidate with their own turnout. But these swing voters that are actually deciding these elections are moving away from Donald Trump in record numbers. I mean, Louisiana is a state that Donald Trump carried by 20 points. Kentucky is a state where where President Trump carried by almost 30 points. And yet you're seeing big Democratic turnout and then swing voters move to the Democrats in ways that we haven't seen in a very long time, Lawrence.
So, Jim, there's an interesting phenomenon here in what you're identifying with these Trump visits. And it reminds me of when I was working in the Senate for a northeastern liberal senator. He would say to other Democratic senators in more conservative states, I'll come and campaign for you or I'll stay away, whichever will help you the most. Donald Trump doesn't seem to understand that it's possible that staying away could be the best thing he could do for a Republican candidate.
Because, Lawrence, it's always about Donald Trump, right? This has never been about anyone but him. And he loves his rallies. He loves seeing his people, and he has a great time. But, over and over again, he is driving independents and Democrats to the polls to send him a very loud message, and his candidates are getting slaughtered. You remember in 2008 when the Obama campaign announced we were going to compete in Virginia, and everyone said, you can't carry Virginia, you'll never win. We now won it twice. You look at the turnout numbers in Virginia for Republicans, and they are the worst we have seen in a generation. And then on the other side, Democratic turnout is huge. Young voters, 18 to 29 turnout in Virginia in the most recent elections was up 300%. And it's not all because we have amazing Democratic candidates. It is in part because the country wants to get rid of Donald Trump, and they're sending that message over and over again in local elections across this country.
Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on the button below for more from The Last Word and the rest of MSNBC.